What's going on, guys? TowerNumberNine here, and today I am coming to you guys with a new combo explainer video featuring a combo that's been discovered here in the new Jump to Lightspeed set. It features some cards that used to not be considered very good, but now they can be put together into something pretty strong. So let's get right into it. Captain Rex fighting for his brothers. This leader was one that I really wanted to make work in Twilight of the Republic, but I wasn't quite able to figure out how to do it. So Rex is a leader that deploys on 5 resources as a 2/6. When deployed, he creates a 2/2 clone trooper token, and he gives all your other friendly trooper units +0/+1. On his leader side, you can spend 2 and exhaust to create a clone trooper token if a friendly unit attacked this phase. Generally speaking, this leader has not done very well competitively. The token and swarm type tactics were just not really very effective in the Twilight of the Republic set, but the Jump to Lightspeed set that we've just seen released has brought us some new tools, and you can make a deck with this guy that's actually quite good. So, Unity of Purpose. This is the big card that enables this combination. It is a 6-cost double command event for each friendly unit with a different name. Give each unit you control +1/+1 for this phase. And this card can make Rex a beast. It is very scary. I want to give a quick shout out to Didier Greenleaf for popularizing this combination. I had first run into it, I think, separately, but I saw that he had released a video and deck list on that, and I'll have a link to that in the video description below if you want to see his take on the combo. But the Unity of Purpose, it allows you to give a large buff to your whole army. So for each friendly unit with a different name, give each unit you control +1/+1 for this phase. So if you just have 4 units with different names, you play this card and they all get +4/+4, which is a lot of value. And it gets even more value if you have a wide board, especially a wide and diverse board. Now, most decks might have some difficulty executing this, but Rex seems like he is built to generate a wide board. These clone trooper tokens that he makes, especially when you flip him, allows you to spread out. You can combine this with a deck that has nice, cheap units. The cheap units can also help you get more unique names for Unity of Purpose. You don't just want to make like 10 clone troopers or whatever. You would ideally have a clone trooper or 2 and then a few units with different names. Rex also mitigates the card disadvantage that you have from playing a swarm of cheap units by having a resource sink you can use. So you can use his ability to spend resources at least somewhat efficiently if you don't have cards that if you don't have cards in play or in hand because you have been playing so many cheap cards. And these factors make Rex well suited for this combination, but that's not all. There is a certain base, also not widely played perhaps until now, that really takes this to the next level. And that base is the Droid Manufactory. So Droid Manufactory is a 24 HP green base. When you deploy a leader, create 2 battle droid tokens. Historically speaking, this was not a popular card. Generating 2 1/1 tokens that come into play exhausted doesn't really seem that worthwhile. Plus, running it means you're not running Energy Conversion Lab, often considered the best base in the game, and it has actually less HP than Energy Conversion Lab, with only 24, which I think is actually the lowest of any base. But it is amazing with Rex and Unity of Purpose because those 2 droids are both buff targets and they're a new unit name that you just created because now you have Battle Droid. Rex makes them harder to remove. Normally, Battle Droids are vulnerable to ping damage, but when Rex flips, he's giving your other troopers +0/+1. And so one deployment from Rex actually gives you 4 units. You get Rex himself, you get the clone trooper token created when he deploys, and you get the 2 battle droids from the Droid Manufactory. So that's 4 units added to your board, and all of a sudden that Unity of Purpose is looking pretty scary. So in order to get to the combo faster, you typically want to try and ramp. This can be especially important against aggro decks that might kill you before you can combo, or against Django Fett, because you really want to execute the combo before Django can potentially deploy and use a War Juggernaut to exhaust your whole board. Fortunately, Double Green has 2 ramp sources. So you have Resupply and you have Command. Now, Command has historically been, I think, the worst of the double aspect legendaries because the fact that the damage side of it deals damage to a non-unique unit is very poor in an environment where a large number of the best units people are playing are uniques. But Command has actually improved due to jump to Lightspeed and the new pilot mechanic. Because now, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but as I understand it, a unit with a unique pilot on it is not a unique unit. It is a non-unique unit with a unique upgrade. And that means that if someone plays, a unique high quality pilot onto their Green Squadron A-Wing or whatever their early ship is, that is a valid target for command. So it makes command the addition of piloting means command is more likely to be able to actually execute its damage in an effective way. Um, and it also the main reason we're using it here though is the ramp. It's to try and get the combo off quicker. Now ramping is less reliable if you need to draw unity of purpose because it does mean that you have less time in which to actually get that draw. So as an example of that, if you haven't seen it originally and you're hoping to draw into it, ramp puts you on those resources faster, but you might not be ready when you get there. It is still part of the ideal sequence though, and I think it has an important role in this build. So here's the overall game plan. Pre-game, you're going to do a hard mulligan for Unity of Purpose. Any hand that doesn't have Unity of Purpose, you mulligan. It doesn't matter what else is in the hand. This deck has so many cheap units that you don't need to worry about missing your turn one play. I have literally never had it happen to me when testing this, like literally not ever. It is all about just mulliganing to find that Unity of Purpose, which you need to execute your combo. Here's the dream. Turn one, you do 2 1-drops or 1 2-drops. So let's say you play this Battlefield Marine. Turn two, you either want to resupply, play a 1-drop, attack with an existing unit, and use Rex's ability to make a clone, or you want to do a 3-drop. Admiral Yularen here is a nice one. He has annoying stats to remove. He has Restore 1, and he buffs your other units. Now there are other things you can do. You could do like a 2-drop plus a 1-drop, for instance, but this is just the direct game plan. Turn three, you either want to, if you hit your resupply, you can use your resources as efficiently as possible to try to build a wide and diverse board and flip Rex. If you did not get a resupply, maybe you fire off command at this time and then flip Rex. Or maybe, you didn't find any ramp and you're just building up units. Then turn four, you're going to combo off with Unity if you can. Ideally, what happened here is you ramped, you deployed Rex. You're now on 6 resources. You play this, give your army a huge buff, and go for the enemy base. If you can't combo off, or if you think the combo won't actually kill them and you need some setup first, maybe you set up, maybe you didn't ramp and this is the time when you're going to deploy Rex and try to build your board. Maybe you just feel like you need a few more units out because your opponent's been controlling you efficiently. But turn five, you're going to be hopefully comboing off with Unity of Purpose. Turn 6 and up, hopefully there isn't one because you ideally closed out the game. And it's worth noting this game plan works. I have won several games with this. I think I have a very, very strongly favorable win rate with this deck, even against people who know what it's trying to do. I'm not saying that it's uncounterable, but the combo is actually quite strong. So another example, an example of what this might look like is, let's say that we're at that turn 4. We have 2 units on the board plus all the stuff made by Rex. So that would be a total of, we have the 2 units that we played. We have Rex, that's 3. We have the clone, that's 4, and we have the 2 battle droids, that's 6. Ideally, in that scenario, we would also have 5 unique names. We play Unity of Purpose. We give 6 units +5/+5. We now actually have lethal damage against any that's 30 damage right there just from the Unity of Purpose buff without counting the stats that are already on our units. And that is also not the biggest scenario that I've seen. I'm pretty sure I've hit it for +6/+6 or even +7/+7 and just blown things up. But that's the game plan for this build. Here is the build. So one thing you'll note about this is that I have a large number of 1 and 2 ofs. This is in order to try and increase the number of specific names. The sideboard for this is not super defined right now. I have 3 copies of Confiscate in there because I did notice that sometimes aggressive decks with strong aggro pilots early on were a problem for this build. We do have 3 copies of Bright Hope and 3 copies of Echo Base Defender to try and potentially defend the base if needed, if the opponent's being aggressive. But the Confiscates there are a sideboard option against aggressive pilots. and they're nice and cheap, so you can play them while still bringing out other units. Hopefully, the other copies that we have 3 copies of Unity of Purpose, 3 copies of Command, 3 of each of our Sentinels, 3 resupplies, 3 Blue Leader because Blue Leader is an amazing card, 3 copies of R2D2 because he actually plays a very important role in this build if we didn't draw Command. And this one says it has 3 Battlefield Marines, but I think my most recent build actually has 2 Battlefield Marines and 1 copy of Ryloth Militia to distinguish names further. Ryloth Militia is basically Battlefield Marine except worse, but it is also a unit with a unique name, and we are trying to spread out. However, I used this version of it because the version of this deck that has another unique card creates another row of cards, and it looks a lot worse on this visual display. So that's the story there. And there are a lot of one-ofs in this deck, and that's on purpose. That's going to make it so that ideally we're going to have a board of differentiated unit names, which are going to make that unity of purpose a bigger buff. You don't really want to have like 2 Battlefield Marines or something. You ideally want to have, 1 Battlefield Marine and 1 Echo, or 1 Battlefield Marine and 1 Freetown backup, or, something along those lines. As I mentioned earlier, we also have a vast amount of 1 and 2 cost units. So this deck will very reliably have at least some opening play. Now, in addition to Unity of Purpose, there's 3 other cards here that buff your army. They're all units that provide passive buffs. So Admiral Yularian gives all your friendly heroism units +0/+1. Shock T gives each friendly token unit +1/+0. And even though she is heroism, that does apply to your droid tokens as well. On attack, she creates a clone trooper token. Clone Commander Cody has 4/4. He has Overwhelm, and he has Coordinate to give each other friendly unit +1/+1 and Overwhelm. And this deck establishes Coordinate extremely easily. Just flipping Rex gives you Coordinate and room to spare. So Cody is often a nice big buff for the army and can be especially effective against Sentinels because that Overwhelm can really help push that damage through. So what do you do if you can't find the combo? If you don't have that Unity of Purpose? So as I said earlier, you should hard mulligan for Unity of Purpose, regardless of what else is in your opening hand. If it doesn't have Unity of Purpose, you should mulligan. And if your mulligan doesn't find it, what you're going to want to do is prioritizing deck filtering via R2D2 ignoring protocol. This is why R2 has 3 copies in the build. If you are when played and on attack, what you're going to do is you look at your top card. If it's not Unity of Purpose, doesn't matter what it is, send it to the bottom of the deck. You're just trying to get draw into your combo. And you may also be able to go a little faster by using Bright Hope to bounce something and draw a card. Since that is allowing you to see that little bit extra of your deck, that ability to dig can seriously increase your odds of drawing Unity of Purpose in time. This is why R2 is one of very few 3x units in the build, as I discussed earlier. Now, ideally there would be some kind of event search type effect, but that doesn't really seem to exist in the game right now. And I've actually even thought about incorporating Republic R2 here as a last resort, maybe playing him as a 2x, playing him off aspect for 4 resources to search those top 3 cards and try to ensure that you grab Unity of Purpose. I currently have been successful enough with the deck that it doesn't feel like it's necessarily something that needs to happen, but it is a card that could help out for sure. In terms of reliably drawing that. It's just not very efficient for 4 resources and a discard from hand. But maybe you really do need to filter as hard as possible to try and get that combo sometimes. So that's the combo. That's the deck. Like I said, this has actually been very effective for me, even against some people who knew it was coming, which is interesting. But let's just talk a bit about how to counter it. So the large stat buff from Unity of Purpose makes a lot of removal difficult, so damage-based removal or HP remaining-based removal often doesn't have good targets once the combo's gone off. For instance, if you give all your units +5/+5, and even the Humble Battle Droid token is a 6/6, that's actually a 6/7 because Rex is on the board, giving troopers +1 HP. All of a sudden, that Overwhelming Barrage isn't looking too good. You might be able to kill, 0 to 1 units, maybe 2 if you've put a bunch of damage on some of their stuff, but even then, it's dubious. Similarly, a takedown, most of the units are probably going to be out of range just from the unity of purpose alone. However, if you can use those removal cards before they combo to keep the board small, that weakens it substantially. They might not even be able to go for the combo until they are able to build up a bigger board, and that can buy you some time. One thing that can be more effective than damage-based removal or HP-based removal is exhaust and bounce effects. So Django Fett can be a good counter to this combo if you are able to get good exhausts with him. In the Django matchup, I think that the Rex player really wants to ramp so that they can bring out their combo before Django can potentially flip and play a War Juggernaut. But the best way that I found is probably to attack the hand. So if you're looking at this deck, it's very often the case that you only have one copy of of Purpose in hand, and if the opponent takes that from you with a Jam Communication, Spark of Rebellion, Bazine Natal, any of those cards that allow you to look at the opponent's hand and pick something out of it, that can be super negative for the Unity of Purpose player. And more standard discard can actually work too, because this deck tends to go very low on cards because it's so swarmy. So if the opponent is already only has like two cards in hand and you pillage them, even though you didn't get to select Unity of Purpose, if they had it, you just removed it. So that can work as well. And then if they do get the combo off, playing Shielded Sentinels can work. So for instance, if you bring out the Village Protectors, that's going to absorb 2 attacks from the Rex player, and even though their units are really strong, the first one is going to just remove a shield token, and the second one is going to waste a bunch of damage. Now, if they have Commander Cody out for that overwhelm, then it'll be a little more effective with that second attack. But even still, you can prevent them from getting the full value with a Sentinel. So that is some discussion of counterplay to this combo. It's going to be interesting to see how this evolves. I don't think my deck is like some final version of this, but I do think it's been surprisingly effective. Now, I think that if you're in a scenario where you see that your opponent is playing Rex and they have the Droid Manufactory, you should be assuming they're on this combo. Simply because Droid Manufactory is kind of a bad card normally. ECL, I think, is way better for Rex under normal circumstances. But if you see that Droid Manufactory with Rex, you should be thinking about this combo. I have actually seen someone try to do this combo also with a Watt Tambor deck. So they, in that build, it was using the Droid Manufactory and didn't have the Clone Trooper token on flip, but Watt Tambor gives some buffs if you've lost a unit. And so it seemed reasonable, though I think the Rex version is probably better. And yeah, there's some interesting gameplay to be had with this. I don't think it's uncounterable. I think there are definitely some answers, but if you see, a double green Droid Manufactory setup, you should be wary of this combo and looking to try and keep their board small, maybe attack their hand, prevent them from going off. Okay, so that was my combo explainer on the Unity of Purpose combo with Captain Rex. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a powerful combo? Have you figured out some way to make it even more effective, or perhaps some way to really counter it? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah, until next time, guys, this is Tower Number 9, and we'll be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. I will catch you guys later.